Boyses and girlses, it's Cooper. The Welcome to Cooperville podcast is proudly brought to you by Midwest Meals. Hashtag Midwest Fit Fam. We are getting into the fall season. If you are a Midwesterner or wherever it is you live, this is when all the dirty eating starts to happen. You start to get lazy, picking up Halloween candy. Then it's there. You open that bag, boom, it's done, it's over. Then you got to go back and get more before the kiddos show up at your door. Keep yourself in check. Go to MidwestMeals.com. Now 13 meals on rotation for you to choose from. You can stack up your week, get your order in by Friday at midnight, and then they ship out wherever you are on Monday, so you'll have your meals all set for the week. No excuses. It's clean, fast, healthy eating, counting your macros, checking your calories, and putting the food in your body that your body needs to be most productive. And no matter what your goals are, maybe it's just to eat a little bit better. Maybe it is to lose weight. Maybe it is to continue on a fitness regimen. It all works at Midwest Meals. By the way, not just those 13 rotating meals. They also have a build-a-meal program. So if you want to add a little bit of this and a little bit of that and some of that in there, get your macros all on point, you can do that too. MidwestMeals.com. Check out their great selection. And then when you get to the checkout, use the promo code Cooper. Get 10% off your initial order at MidwestMeals.com. And it's hoodie season, and your hoodies should say BGHC, Violent Gentlemen Hockey Club, on the World Wide Web at violentgentlemen.com. Your hoodies, your t-shirts, your caps, your flags, all the things you need to do to represent your hockey love in more of a badassery tone. Yes, they have jerseys too, but even the jerseys are more badass than your standard hockey jersey. Join the revolution. ViolentGentlemen.com, and at checkout, you get 15% off your first order by using the promo code Cooperville15. Boom and done. And of course, we are brought to you by Monster Energy. I didn't even know that Monster Hydro existed until recently, and once I discovered Monster Hydro, it has become a household favorite. Hydration, energy, focus, stamina, all the things you need to get through a productive day. Look for it at your local grocer. Stock up, make it a part of your regiment. And for you quality protein folks out there, Muscle Monster, also available at your local grocer or convenience store. Hashtag Monster Podcasts. Make sure you stick around after the podcast for more exciting offers. My brother from another mother, one of the most awesome dudes in not only the music scene, in the music industry, but on the face of the earth. Mr. Blake Allison from Devour the Day is my guest on the Welcome to Cooperville podcast. That episode starts right now.
Welcome to Cooperville.
Do you know what's fun to do in Cooperville? Pack up your shit and get the fuck out!
Listen. The Welcome to Cooperville podcast. On demand anywhere quality podcasts are available. And some places where cheap podcasts are available.
At the local gas station has some.
Subscribe, get updates, feel better about your life. Welcome to Cooperville.com.
Check one, check.
Welcome to Cooperville! Make sure you use a coaster. The wife gets upset when we leave rings on the tables.
Probably the most authentic, genuinely good human beings I ever met in my radio career, Mr. Blake Allison, is on the podcast. Good day, sir.
Hello. How are you?
I am well, man. I am well. It is great to have you on. It is great to see your face. You got the, this is obviously audio only, but for those who can't see through my eyes, which is weird, big brother, you got a good little 5 o'clock shadow thing going on. I'm liking the.
Oh, the beard.
Yeah,
yes.
Yes.
We've been talking for about 30 minutes, but my beard isn't as good as yours. I know it. I've been.
Since I told my wife, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go for a new look, and that look is homeless. And she was like, oh, well, you keep it up, and you will be homeless. And
well, is that something like because you're no longer, doing the radio thing? Are you now bearded because this is like you can't do it there, so you've been wanting to do it?
I think it was a thing that I never felt, and I shouldn't say, I never gave myself the opportunity to grow the beard. Because I think I would get to a point, after a week or so, and it would just look like, again, a homeless person, and would have an event or have a remote at a car dealership, And they're like, who'd you send? Like, who's the guy that you sent? Does he actually work there? Does he know what he's doing? So it always came to like, oh, I better clean up a little bit. But then after I got done, I'm like, well, honey, all I have to impress is you. So
yeah,
I don't think she took too kindly to that. She was like, thanks.
Well, it looks good, and you don't look homeless.
Thank you.
I feel like I know a lot of people that don't have beards that are homeless. My girlfriend works for a company that helps homeless people get reintegrated to the system.
Awesome.
And it's a crazy thing. Homelessness is not it's not a thing to mess around with. We can use cuss words on their podcast.
Yeah, we are not FCC regulated, man.
This is a totally different arena. We are in a world of
F-bombs.
Shit.
Fuck shit. Piss, cunt. Yeah, we can say it all, man. It's where we can go Carlin on this whole thing if we really want to. No, but it's nothing to fuck with to be able to throw that word in there, and it's a lot of things that I want to discuss with you. And first and foremost is when we first met, and this was we had just built 92.9 The X, basically from nothing, from a classic rock station into a full-fledged active rock. Embracing new artists, and we had talked about this several times over our illustrious radio guy, music guy friendship. But like Devour the Day, and we'll get to kind of how the formation of Devour the Day from the ashes of Egypt Central, but like to celebrate the shock and awe that they actually let us stay on the air for an entire year after some of the antics that we pulled. We got a chance to bring you guys in and conversate. And one of the great things that I recollect back on from that show is how like authentic and genuine you are, that Joey is, just like real, tangible human beings. And that was something that I think not only resonated with me as a human, but also I think following the band from that position and further down the careers with new albums, with stops. I mean, there was times you guys just happened to be within like 50 miles, and next thing you know, you're in the back parking lot. But I think for the fans, there's a realness to you and to the band that kind of circumvents any other of the falsehoods that are out there. So I think it's a great thing that we are able to have this conversation, because I never got the chance really to go in depth with you on where you are and how you got to where you are, and so this is going to be fun, and I'm excited. Well, I am here to answer all of your authentic questions. Authenticity, that's what we're all about here, folks. Authenticity. When you think back, take you back to little Blake Allison, the wee lad that he was, knee high to a grasshopper. 8-year-old Blake Allison. 8-year-old. What were you like growing up? Were you a kid that was were you geeky? Were you athletic? Were you always kind of awesome? I was the kid that was in the backyard with a cape and a stick. And I could do that all day, all night till it was time for dinner, off to bed. Next day, school. When I was really young, I did well in school, and I really cared about people. And then as I got older, like 6th, 7th grade, like the pressures of having a good girlfriend and then sports and all these things, and then I feel like I became kind of a hateful person. Right. Yeah. all the way up until I was, I stopped caring about school because I feel like it just happens. Like as soon as you hit puberty, it's like, you're like, I just made this choice. Like, I don't want to care about school because money isn't important to me, and blah, 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 blah. And it still isn't, it doesn't motivate me, but at the same time, you need it to live. So you gotta feed the cat that's behind you. Yeah. I figured that out the hard way. But yeah, man, I was just a very, to my own self, imaginative, introverted for sure. But I still would,
crave friendship and like that. So like having a group of friends was still, very important to me. But, I was kind of a brat. I picked on people. It's kind of a little jerk.
Well, high school is such a weird time, I think, for kids to go through. And I can't imagine. I mean, I have a 9-year-old right now, who's got some of those same qualities that you had as a child, only like in a different, like, technological way. Like, he is so content with just kind of being himself and being into the things that he's into. And, but when you get to that kind of transitional period between I'm a kid, or am I a tween, or am I a teen, or am I supposed to act like an adult? And now I'm responsibility, not only from, I'm responsible for driving a vehicle, and, the lack of comprehension that I'm driving basically something that could kill a bunch of individuals if I just, don't focus. And then, getting your first job and, your first girlfriend, and whether you're into sports or you're not, there's always that social pressure, I think, in high school to, and depending on the size of your town, going to the football game and kind of being in with the hip crowd and being, a real team player with the community, and grades, obviously the pressure to succeed and to, be 16, 17 years old and have like a fucking life plan. Like, okay, I got my vision, and whether that's pressure, that's pressure from the parents, or it's pressure from the teachers, or it's pressure from everybody. But, it's not, and I think the last decade or so has really proven that if you start to follow things that you're passionate about, even at that age, whether it's music or whether it's sports or whether it's, reading, if you start to follow those things, like, you're going to get out of high school and you go, wow, that all the shit that I was kind of feeling this pressure about, it had an impact on me in some ways, but like, if you don't go to college, it's, you're going to be okay. Like there are ways, there are ways you will end up at 30 and hopefully be in less debt than those who put, 4-8 years in college. But when you look back on those high school years, and they say that's when whatever music you kind of grow up around, that's in your home or it's in the car as you are being taken to school, but the influential years when you're like, kind of that rebel, maybe the jerk, like Blake Allison apparently was. I'm not sure how you went from jerk in high school to like the most like nicest dude I've ever met, but what was where was your wheelhouse as far as like music goes in that period of high school? What were you listening to?
I was, so I remember, blasting Limp Bizkit in my car. But I also remember carrying, my love for, the Forrest Gump soundtrack.
Nice.
Into high school. So I would listen to
Southern rock stuff in there.
Yeah. Yeah. I had all these, there was a Creedence song on that soundtrack that I listened to a million times over, and just a really great, mixture of sounds. And that I started with Led Zeppelin, things like that. My dad loved the fact that I loved Led Zeppelin. Didn't understand Limp Bizkit at all.
Not many parents ever did. They never understood the chocolate starfish and hot dog flavored water. They don't get it.
Yeah. And still don't. But it's such a great record.
I know.
The music on that record is just, it's perfect to me. I love groove rock, but Rage Against the Machine, and when I was in grade school, everything that was popular on MTV was like Weezer and Red Hot Chili Peppers and Nine Inch Nails, and Metallica had Until It Sleeps, that whole thing that they were doing that. And so I carried that into high school, but all my friends were like very cultured in their musical tastes. Their parents really pushed a lot of music on them. So they knew about the Beatles, and they knew about Paul Simon, and they knew about all Elton John and all these other things that I thought were kind of strange, but in front of them, I would be like, yeah, I love that. And then I'd get in my car and put in Rob Zombie, and just like blast it on the way home. And I knew that I had a different kind of love for modern music than they did. And at the time I was kind of ashamed of it, but I'm not at all now.
Right.
And so I was in a band, and like we would play jam band music. I was the auxiliary drummer. The singer of that band is actually the singer for MGMT.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we had a band in high school together, and I think that's really kind of how the whole thing started for me. Joining that band. I mean, I always had friends that we would play music with, and I did like a talent show in 8th grade. But when we were in high school and we played like our 3rd or 4th show, and we had almost sold out 1,000-seater. I think they were like, wow. I mean, I say almost sold out, but that we weren't even close. It's like 600 people on a Wednesday.
That's good. That's good for today.
I know. We didn't know how great that was. Like the venue owners were just like, holy shit, these kids just came in here and sold 600 tickets on a local show on a Wednesday. I mean, they made so much money. They were just like, they treated us like kings, and we had no idea. They're like, when are you going to come back? When are you going to play again? Let's play again. Let's do it. We were just like, I don't know. We're talking about going to college next year. So, we all broke up. And we all went our separate ways, of course. But, I think that's when the whole thing started for me. And like, as soon as that was over, I went right back to writing heavier music. I always wanted to write heavy music. And then I got into like 311 during college while I was in drum corps at the University of Memphis, because I started to understand what drumming really is, not just, I hate to say it, but it's not all just double bass.
Right. Yeah. And nobody hits that snare like Chad Sexton, man. Nobody hits it.
Oh my God.
Man. Pam, just whacks that
He's
shit.
chopping. That's what they used to say in drum corps. There was a guy there that was their teacher that would be like, we would talk about 311. He'd be like, "Oh, they chopping. Oh, they chopping. Like, they are chopping.
Yeah,
they
just
sure are chopping."
Pump on like the opening, the intro to like Come Original, and you'll understand what chopping is, because that's full on. It hits, man.
Yeah. So, and then that's when Joey and I met up, and we started a band. And we were like half covers, half jam band stuff. But when we would play our rockin', like when we would really get into something rockin', that's when we got the biggest response out of our audience. And that's also when we would physically get into the music. Other than that, we're playing Black Crowes songs and just, trying to pretend like we love what we're doing. And I love Black Crowes, but, I definitely grew up in a more metal household. That translated to really getting into Linkin Park, and really starting to love this. I was really into Non-Point, which is like when Linkin Park started to blow up, Non-Point and Statement that came out, and I was just like, this is the best ever. And System of a Down and everything from that era, Incubus, like I started listening to that and really wanted to make music like those guys, and that was the first Egypt Central record, essentially. We took from all that stuff. Had no idea what we were doing, like writing a song. We just knew, like, okay, this is what a song should sound like. Right. But, we spent a lot of time working on songs, and then the rest is history after that.
When you, and I want to talk about, and we will throughout this, the relationship with Joey, because I think that's, I want to say it seems like, at least from my vantage point, that kind of elongated, long-term friendship, bandmate relationship, there's a ton of challenges to keep those things, going, and to keep them kind of motivated and together, but to go through, and we'll talk about kind of the Egypt Central ending, and then the birthing, the bloody birthing of Devour the Day. but it's a really cool thing, and I want to touch on that. But when you're obviously drummer first, is that that was your first drive?
Well, my first instrument was the guitar.
Yeah.
And singing. I really wanted to be Gavin Rossdale when I was when I was in 7th and 8th grade.
Because of his vocal range, or because I've seen the Gavin Rossdale fan club, and
so
I think
maybe that's it.
I think you do. I think you're pulling it off, man. I like it.
No, I had a really great conversation with Vinnie Paul.
Yeah.
And I told him this. I was like, so in my first band, we tried to play Metallica songs. We tried to play Pantera songs. We tried to play Slayer songs. We played Rage Against the Machine songs. And the only band that we couldn't cover was Pantera.
Yeah.
Because it was just too hard to play. And I think he really liked that. That's the only reason why we didn't play you guys. We tried a lot, but we could barely make it through one Pantera song, just because as soon as it came time for a solo, the guitar just didn't happen.
This doesn't do what Dime was able to do with it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And that's, and to kind of jump around here a little bit. And we talked about this before we started the podcast is, we were in a conversation about Seven Dust, and we'll get to that recent tour that you guys were just on. But, Pantera was one of those bands that just it didn't exist in radio. It wasn't there. It had to be something that you discovered. It was almost like from a friend,
yeah.
Had the cassette, they had, Vulgar Display of Power or something. And it just it was almost like the secret, nobody knew about it, but then on the weekend you would just crank that shit up, or after school pump it in the car and pop the cassette tape in, and it just in its own phenomenon, and it lives in that phenomenal area. When bands like Metallica obviously took it to radio and took it hard to radio and still do to this day. And even Slayer, I think you kind of fit that in there too, because they were also one of those bands that radio was not on over, but we're going out and doing massive things, and are kind of on their exit tour right now. But it's Pantera was just one of those bands that, there was nobody like him, and there will never be anybody who could do it like they did. And rest in peace to Diamond and to Vin, and Vinnie Paul, one of the absolute. I opened with how genuinely awesome of a person that you are. And Vinnie Paul is right there. He is,
totally
no nonsense, and the nicest guy. We're in market BFE up here, and here I am having a cocktail and a conversation with Vinnie Paul, in our booth at Rockfest one year, and I'm like, this dude is just genuinely good, a genuinely good human being, who, by the way, is maybe one of the best drummers who ever lived. Just amazing.
Yeah.
But so
I went and saw Phil Anselmo.
Yeah.
Not too long ago.
Mm-hmm.
And they played a couple of the Phil Anselmo and the Illegals. He played 3 of the songs. And then he turns around to the audience and he's like, all right, I know what you fucking came for. Let's play this shit. And they started playing Pantera, and everybody in that whole room lost their minds.
Oh God.
And the dudes that were up there, I don't have anything bad to say. They killed those tunes. They played them really well, and he sang them just as you would think. He hasn't lost anything.
Right.
He is still amazing. And so I, as somebody who never got to see Pantera, was smitten. I lost it. I was just jumping up and down. It might have been you would think it would be my first concert I ever went to. This is rock music.
I have been.
Where am I?
Where have I
been?
Oh my gosh. Where have I been? Where's this been my whole life?
Yeah.
But
they were so good.
Yeah. It's in those type of bands, and I think, when you talk about, you as an artist, getting into music and guitar and singing and drumming and trying to, you have a sound that you really are drawn to. And for you, obviously an array of sounds, when you talk about anything from Pantera to 311, and Incubus in there, and Rage and System of a Down, such a wide range of rock-based sounds, but a lot of them completely different. But to try to emulate something and just and learning just how difficult perfecting music is. Not perfecting, but to like, wow, how great Dime was, and how Phil could just kill it, and Vinny, and you look at all those bands that you talked about, and I think it gives artists, and you can attest to this. You can tell me I'm way off mark, which happens. I have a wife that tells me that all the time, but I think it always, for artists that are really in it, if you're in it to progress and to grow and to get your sound out, to write, it just gives you this like constant carrot in front of a donkey kind of thing. Like, man, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep learning. I'm going to, keep playing, and I'm going to just, try to bend it a little bit, just a little bit more. And maybe if I hold it down here, and I can get that kind of, get that, that in there. But music always will, I think influences will always continue to drive artists to be better and to learn more and to grow. And I know you guys, went through, your own set of growing pains and learning what the industry's like and what being in a band life is all about.
I think what encompasses the whole thing, though, is just growing as a human being.
Right.
I know that's a really earthy, shitty general thing to say, but I really do feel like everything, you attach success to, how well your band's doing and what slot you are on that festival, and how long it's been since you've had a song on radio, or how many streams you've got. You've got all these things that you can attach it to. And I think that the person who's truly successful can just look at that and say, it's a gift that I can create music.
Right.
It's a gift that we have it. It's a gift that this is my lifestyle. Like this is the life that I chose, and I'm able to do it, because a lot of people don't get to do what they want to do.
Right.
And so, there's doing what you're doing and doing it well. So yes, we are striving to get another song on the radio. We are striving to get more streams. We're striving to write a new record that is successful. But getting upset that it's not is something that, I think everybody just has to learn. Because if you're upset that you're not successful, at the end of the day, you can blame it on everybody. But is that going to make you happy to sit there and say, well, the radio doesn't want to play our song because, we're not relevant anymore, and, radio just abandoned us? Or you could say, our audience is too dumb to understand our music, like things like that, which I hear people say. I read this huge thread the other day about how upset this guy was that there's this thing called buy-on bands, where a band, can pay money to be on a big tour. And we've always been taught that as soon as you do that, you become the buy-on band, and you can't get on a tour unless you offer up money.
Right.
And maybe that's true. I don't know. We've never paid to be on a tour, but we've certainly taken such low money on tours that it basically was like we were buying.
It cost us more to be there than we came home with.
Well,
yes.
We didn't really make anything. It was more of exposure. And I think that's a fair trade.
Absolutely.
I think if you have a band and you're a group of people, men and women, that collectively throw a bunch of money into, you invest in a record, you invest in advertisement, you invest in radio, you invest in touring. Who cares if they bought? It's good exposure. These people are working hard to get up there. If your band is, if you've been doing it for 20 years and you're upset because there's a brand new band on a huge tour, it's not, maybe you just have to look inward and see, like, why am I upset? Why am I jealous?
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. That's like Dave Chappelle says, it's just like comedians. It's like, they hate each other. They're jealous of each other. They talk shit on each other. They love each other. They see each other every day. It's the same way in the music industry. You see good people doing great things. You see people that you don't have a high opinion of doing great things. You see, and everything in between. Good people fail. you know, people that you maybe feel like deserve it fail, you know. But I think that all says something about the kind of person you are.
Yeah.
If you're happy when you see people fail, there's something wrong. If you're jealous when you see people do great things, something wrong. And so I think that, you know, all the success aside and all the failures aside, it's just, you know, how do we deal with it? And are we growing as human beings? Can we not point the finger at each other when something goes wrong? Can we not hold the credit when something goes right? You know?
Yeah.
It's a struggle.
And a lot of that is, you know, your mentality on things and on yourself and on, you know, your view of the world and not just in, I think, the music industry, but in life in general. If you have that victim mentality and, you know, you are, that when jealousy comes into play or when anger comes into play or when happiness comes into play, when somebody else is suffering or somebody else has, you know, maybe somebody who fell under a lucky star, whether you know, if you're into the believing in luck or not, but they got theirs, they got on this tour, they bought their way on this tour, and then something happened and they fail, or their follow-up album was a flop, you know, according to, you know, the success in the charts and sold and streamed. But if you have that victim mentality in any walk of life, in any career path, and it's always somebody else, it's always their fault. It's always somebody. I am here because somebody else is doing, you know. Yeah. When you start to be able to, you know, take responsibility for your life, and I think take responsibility for your decisions, and find gratitude. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you said you get to wake up every day as a musician, as an artist, as somebody who has found a way to follow what they wanted to do with their life and gets to do it, and doesn't, you know, roll with a, you know, chip on their shoulder or, you know, jealousy. It's just like, man, I get to get up and
well, I tell you, chip is there.
Well,
it's just whether or not I'm actually like listening to that, you know.
It's the devil and the angel on the shoulder. Yeah,
totally. I mean, when I see bands that I don't know doing great things, I'm like, what? How? You know. And when I see good bands not getting radio play, I'm like, what? How? You know. Yeah. I get mad all the time, but you know, am I manifesting those things?
Right.
I try not to. Sometimes I get angry with my people I work with. You know, sometimes I get really angry with Joey. Sometimes he gets really angry with me. But, you know, we're definitely not perfect. That's all I'm really trying to say.
But I think you'll have emotion and those kind of feelings. I think when you're driven, you know, when you're motivated to continue on the life that you have, you know, been blessed to have, and you're able to write and produce and sing and play. But there always is going to be that when you're driven inside, like, oh man, you know what, here's what we should do. And maybe you take those examples of getting upset about something happening or somebody else having success, and you go,
it's all reflection.
Yeah. But then you learn that you can learn something. You know, you can take that as okay.
Yeah. Why am I upset that they're doing what they're doing? It's because I'm not. Why am I not doing it? Well, let's look at that and figure out. Let's work that problem.
Looking inward.
And usually, yeah, exactly. And usually, I feel like to not wake up every day and create something, to not wake up and be a musician, or to be doing something that works towards that livelihood is not only taking advantage of the huge gift that is this life, but it's also just lazy. Yeah. And that's not a good way to live. So
yeah, and being content. You know, I think there's a lot of artists, you know, whatever level that they're at, there's always this, you know, there's some that get to a point where it's just content. You know, they're good to go out and, you know, they got the shows in the bag, and it's, you know, it's produced well and it's done well, and they're just, you know, going through the motions. And I think, you know, some people can tell when they watch a show, or even, you know, to use comedians, as you mentioned, Dave Chappelle, who's not somebody who just kind of hones it in. He's got his shit on lock, but there are that just kind of go through and maybe they're pulling the same bits and the same routines, and you're like, oh, maybe this person's kind of just now going on past success. I'm out here because I am who I am. But for those who are still, trying to be better and they're not content with where they are, they keep on creating. Yeah. And that's a power that, again, comes from within. So back to Egypt Central, and when we first had met, it was after Egypt Central had kind of gone away, and we never really, I think it was so early on when we first connected that we didn't really touch on it a whole lot because Devour the Day was out, and Good Man was having success, and follow-up tracks were having success. For you to go through, and this obviously has happened multiple times, and happens to artists all the time. You're in a band, and you think it's going to be the greatest thing, and this is it. We got it. From figuring out the name of the band to we got our timing down to we got this figured out, and then shit happens, and you're like, ugh. What are those moments like to overcome and to get through when you kind of feel like you're on a good roll, and then things change and you have to kind of adapt and readjust your course?
That's a really good question, because I feel like that happens every day with everybody who's ever doing anything in the public eye.
Yeah.
And the sky is always falling. There's always something, and I think that focusing on all the good, no, I should say that. Have you ever seen the movie or the show Silicon Valley?
I have not.
Okay. Well, it's an amazing show, and
Writing
the whole thing is centered around pivoting and figuring out ways to take something that is a disaster and turn it into gold, and that's the grace that kept us going, or not the grace. That's the fuel that kept us going, is that when that was all happening, when the band was falling apart, and the reasons don't matter, but when the band was falling apart, Joey and I kept writing songs.
Yeah.
And those 5 songs, which were Blackout, Move On, were released, but it was really dark and non-radio song. But it's a really great song. It's one of those songs that we just haven't figured out. One day it might come out, but we just don't know. We just haven't figured it out.
It's there. It's in the vault.
Yeah. But those songs propelled us. They gave us wind in our sails, because we were like, well, we have 2 options. We could either continue on as Egypt Central and we find a new singer and they'll sing these songs, or maybe I'll sing these songs as Egypt Central, like the drummer steps into the front. And we were just like, man, that's so lame, like,
yeah.
I don't sound anything like John. So for me to just step into those shoes and expect people to be like, yeah, it's like, no, it's not the same thing.
Right.
I mean, I get it. I understand why when bands split up and people go and do their solo things, it's so hard for the audience to go and watch a band play songs, because it's just not the same thing. It's the union of the 2 or the 3 or the 4 that make it what it is.
Yeah.
You play the music all you want. That's just it. It reminds people of a time, So that's why we were just like, we're just going to shut Egypt Central down, because it can't be redone.
Right.
We can't if we did find somebody that sounded a lot like John, it's still not the band. So let's just do something brand new, wipe the slate clean, that way we can dismiss some of the songs that we're not so proud of.
Right.
In Egypt
Don't
Central
know that
land.
one. Yeah, forgot that one.
I won't say which ones, but they're out there. And this new music already had me singing it,
Yeah.
So we were like, we're not afraid of the sound. This isn't it doesn't, I mean, it's definitely, you can tell that it's my first crack at singing and whatnot, but we didn't think it was so terrible. Right. So we were like, okay, let's give it a shot. And so we did. And And so it was terrifying. To answer your question, it was awful. And, but we were fueled by so many things, the songs, revenge, showing how, hey, look at, there's a lot of selfishness and that went into it. And, but it still was good. I don't hate on the fact that I wasn't in a good headspace, but at the same time, I know I wasn't.
Well, I think there's whatever you do, however you have to overcome things. And I think, for you getting out of that comfort zone of being behind the kit, to front and center, to drums, to guitar, obviously, you've had the skill set on both, but that in itself is in overcoming. And I think when you can utilize things like the emotions that you mentioned, there's some angst there. There's some, I'm going to prove what's what, but that helps fuel anytime you have to get out of your comfort zone and get into a new area. If you don't have something, it's not all kumbaya and namaste and all that shit. I think that's a part of it, but I think you have to be able to, when it's like, fuck, I'm going from there to here, and instead of getting the heebie-jeebies or the jitters, you're just like, yeah, but here's why I'm doing it. It's the same thing. I think when you incorporate like a fitness routine into something, if you get to a point where you're like, God, I can't just do that. I can't. And then you find like some gasoline to put on your fire, and you're like, wait a minute, I'm going to use,
this is why.
This is my anger. This is, somebody, said this about me, and I'm going to put this in the gas tank. And so it's, getting out of that comfort zone, but utilizing the real raw emotion of what it is, because, it's not wrong to feel those, to have those emotions, because they're legit, they're real. But you use them obviously in a context where it was, we're going to push forward, and however the, hell or high water, however we're going to get there, whatever I have to utilize as my fuel, we're pushing through, and Devour the Day, as I mentioned earlier, was birthed. It was birthed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was an ugly non-hospital back of the, in the back of a Volkswagen on the way to the hospital kind of birth, but
it's not one that they didn't have the camera phone taking video of it and showing it. If it comes up on Facebook, it's got that too graphic, it contains graphic footage kind of thing. But
I always imagine it like the scene in Talladega Nights where he just whips the car around and the baby just comes out of her, and that's how Ricky Bobby was born. That's a good reference. Devour the Day had success and continues to have success, and it's gone and been a part of many things that the station was a part of. You and I have had a chance to do a lot of things, but there was one thing in particular that you guys did, and it's been a minute, but the soundtrack to your story. It was such a cool concept, and I think, and I'll let you, kind of embellish on how it became what it became, but, if you want to talk about something that just had this real life, organic, non-pressurized, non-Hollywood message to it. I mean, it just, you watch those videos and you just believe, you have this like, this inspiring story. And I think, for you guys to go back and to bring these things kind of, to put on the forefront and make it a conscious effort, tell me about, soundtrack, how the idea came up and what it kind of grew into from, original concept to, wow, this is where it happened, or it ended. The story that's behind it is pretty long, but it took a lot of effort to get it started, because nobody really wants to back something they don't understand,
right.
And I'm not gonna lie, we didn't really understand what it was either, but we knew there was something more. We knew that the connection with the audience was beyond what we could fit into a meet and greet or a signing at a merch table.
Right.
The music means something to the audience, and it's not our music. It's one single person's contribution to the world of music, it's as an artist. There's something about the rock community, and we hadn't put our finger on it yet. And it was like a journey of discovery, in the sense that when we were finished, we figured out that this community is going to be here whether or not Devour the Day writes a song, whether or not Disturbed, Shinedown, the list goes on. The rock community is going to exist and support its rock music because they choose to.
Yeah.
And in any which way, whether, whatever. So that was really humbling to know that your fans aren't really fans of you. They like you because of who you are and the stuff that you do. And they've listened to your music, and they've deemed it worthy of the rock world. And some of them use the songs to get through as motivation, kind of like we were talking about earlier. Some of them, sometimes a song hits a chord and it sparks reaction. They have an appreciation for the person that wrote it. But we realized through the whole thing that it really isn't about us. And I feel like if you ask any rock guy,
right,
it's all about the fans. Everything, we wouldn't be here if it weren't for them. Thank you guys so much. We owe you everything. And that's unfortunately the stereotype, the soundtrack to your story, and our song Wonderful Creatures and all that stuff gets lumped into. But really the truth is, what we realized, but it's really hard to convey through song and through video, is that the rock community is very unique. The music community is very unique, whether it's rock or whatever. Truly, the people that love music and live with it and live by it, and the people that create it, images that they self-project, it's all wrong. It's all backwards. It's like, worship me, come to my show, worship me. The truth is, what's really happening is those people are going to be in that room on Friday night, whether it's you or it's blah, 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 or whoever, it doesn't matter. It's the same people. I mean, you get a fringe audience, but the core, the people in the mosh pit, they recognize each other every time,
Yeah.
They become friends. And so that's what we realized. And then if that doesn't motivate somebody to continue to write, I don't know what would, because it's like, you get to be a part of this thing. You get to be an ambassador of rock music. So just go home, sit down with your acoustic guitar or whatever it is, and write a fucking song and put it out. There's, stop waiting. Just get good at your craft. That's kind of what, when we came home, Joey and I knew that, like, it doesn't matter what happens with the music that we release. If we release it and it flops, or if we release it and it blows up, it doesn't matter. Let's just keep writing.
Right.
And that's the thing. That's what we got from it.
Yeah. And it, again, such an eye-opening perspective on things. And I think you touched on a lot of points there that get lost. And when you're talking about the, thank you, it's all about the fan stuff, that has always, and again, I half foot in the music industry, I think, from the radio aspect of it, but that is like, feels like it's on the set list, like,
oh yeah,
you have the set list, and then it's like, don't forget to thank the fans, as like a,
it's on my set list
as part, yeah, but I think it's, but
I gotta say it. If I don't
actually
say it, I look like a jerk. Sorry.
But you guys, this is about me. I don't know if you saw this hair. This hair is Gavin Rosdale's haircut. I don't know if you noticed that. But there is, in the rock community, and I think you'll have that, and not just the rock community, because I will say there's the passion formats, the passion genres. You're right. The story of rock and roll, will be written, and the artist names will be in there, and people will read that, but it's about the connection that an individual has to a song, to a band, to a message. That connection doesn't die. That keeps on going, and it can transcend. It can transcend from, a Zeppelin song into a Bowie song into, a Pantera song and into a Devour the Day song. the reason that rock is as successful as it is, and it may not be as prevalent, in the overall like media scheme of things, it might not be as well documented and seen, because that's kind of how we like it, because it's about more. It's about more than just, growing your hair long and getting tattoos and, devil horns and, that connection to the music, and the art of the mosh pit and headbanging and jumping around on stage full of energy. That connection is rooted so much deeper than what I think could ever be portrayed accurately. If there's a reason that pop music is called pop music, because it's popular, because it's popular because it's surface and it's, and even if you get into like the T Swift stuff, it's like, ooh, broke up with my boyfriend and I know I'm sad, but I'm okay because I got T Swift. I don't necessarily know that, and not to, to bless her, she's done her thing and is living the life of it. But that it feels, and if you are a person that is driven by emotion, it feels fake. It doesn't feel like I can't relate to, a lot of pop music. I think it has its place. I think it has its merit, but rock and roll, and I'm going to hurt your feelings a little bit, but I think country music has the same.
Oh, it don't hurt my feelings at all.
There's a connection.
I love country music.
Yeah, there's a connection, I think, between audience and a song that you don't find in a lot of other genres, just because it's so like you feel it. Like, you're not just like, oh, I heard that song, but I felt, I felt faithless. I felt it inside. Like, not only do I kind of get what, and not fully understand what, Blake was thinking as he wrote this song, but I sure as hell know how it makes me feel. And that's where I think that connection continues to go on. And they'll come out and they'll see a show and they'll stand in front and they'll mosh and they'll jump and they'll be exhausted at the end of the night right along with you. But the story will continue on inside them. And that's, to be able to bring that into, a descriptive form and a visual form was just an outstanding concept. And to understand that you guys hadn't really, like, I have no idea how we're going to do this, but that you went through it.
We did. We just fumbled our way through it, to be honest. I mean, we knew we wanted to do something, and we knew we were going on a journey. We knew we were going to figure it out as we were out there. And I don't think that I don't think it's the last time we'll do it, because I think there's a more direct way to show that. I think we focused on people's stories, and, we got testimonials to figure out who they are and why music is important to them. And I think the second time around, when we do it again, I should say if we do it again, but when we do it again, that's what I'm just going to go with that. There you go.
Commit.
When we do it again, I think we'll focus more on the rock community itself rather than just individual stories, even though those individual stories are what make, they are the building blocks of it. But I think that we'll try and portray how special the rock community is. And like, you use when you talk about pop music, a lot of the people that are choosing rock music, they find camaraderie in the fact that they and the person standing next to them do not like pop music.
Right.
They're like, fuck these beautiful people. We're a bunch of ugly people, And I think that's what rock music truly is centered around, is just the group,
right?
The community, being a part of a group, knowing that, you're surrounded by like-minded people is something that everybody strives for. I don't care. I mean, maybe somebody out there truly wants to be alone, but I feel like most people want to be able to laugh, cry, get pissed off, rant with people.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be seen in some way, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I just think that it's how you do it, and I'm eternally grateful to the people that choose rock music. because the flip side of it is that I'm lucky enough to create it for them.
Well, it's a beautiful community of individuals who I think, and one of the coolest things about them, and I learned this, in radio, because I always thought that I had my hands on discovery. I thought I knew what discovery was about, but the coolest thing to witness and to be witness to, and then to in kind of envelop yourself in, is, and I see this a lot in that rock community, is when somebody finds a song, however they come across it. If it's, they're on YouTube and all of a sudden, the YouTube playlist starts to kick out these things because they, the algorithms, Big Brother's watching all this stuff, but they find a song from a band that like not many people know, and they share it on social media, or the best part, when they just kind of tell you face to face, like, have you heard this song? And you're like, no, I haven't heard it. And that is how like true organic emotional discovery of new music is. And that's why I think you have that popularity of the streaming services, is because people can go, no, I want you got to hear this now. You want, like you can't, like there's they hear a song and they just get so excited about, God, you have to listen here. Give me your phone. I'm going to put it in your playlist here. They do such a great job of helping spread that. And I think even the social media platforms have become, launching pads for artists, and artists have been able to have success on their own levels because of that group of people that shares a song that they like, or shares an artist that they like. And all of a sudden that artist, grows, in a non-corporate push down your throat. Here's the next band. You're going to love them because you have to, because it's all we're going to play. So there's something about that community that, continues to inspire and continues to grow. And I'm going to get you out of here on this question. This podcast, again, has become a lot about inspiration and about what moves people forward. And we've talked a lot about, the rock community and the unity that's there. For you as an artist, who again gets to get up and create, and has found, obviously through the story we just told with Soundtrack, found a new drive to continue to create, not basing it on the end result, but just creating because you have that talent to do so. Who out there inspires you? Like, who do you look at? And it could be a group. I think maybe that audience that we talked about, that community we talked about, that is a huge inspiration. But is there somebody out there that you go, yeah, that, when I'm feeling like this, I think of this person, or what inspires Blake Allison?
It comes from all over. Mm-hmm. But what inspires me to write music, I don't know if it's just, that's a really hard question, because inspiration is everywhere.
Yeah.
My girlfriend talks about something that she did yesterday that was creative. Like, she goes to an art class, and I guess the answer to that question is so general that I need to tell you something specific so you can, I can describe, like the kinds of places that they come from.
But that's so accurate, though. I think it's a beautiful statement to say it's not a person, a specific person all the time. It's not a specific artist. It's not a specific event. It's finding inspiration in everything that's out there, and saying, and however you use it, it could be, reverse negative inspiration, where you're like, ooh, don't want to do that. Don't want to. Okay. I'm inspired not to take that step in that direction, because damn, it's dirty down there. But I think when you open your eyes a little bit to all of the inspiration that's out there, and it stems from gratitude. It stems from being grateful about life and existence and its frailty, but
awareness.
Yeah. Self-awareness.
If you're being aware that, like, right now, Paige is my girlfriend. Mm-hmm. Paige is telling me something that she learned at an art class, where the guy that was teaching the class had them draw some still objects, and he had them just do whatever they've been trained to do first, and she drew these things and shaded them perfectly and had a little trouble here and this and that and the other, had a time limit, and then he was like, okay. And then he had him do all these exercises. He's like, okay, throw that away. I want you to draw the same thing without, looking. Now you've got it. Don't look at that anymore. Just draw what you remember drawing. And then he had him draw without looking at the paper, just staring at the thing and drawing it based on how they, remember it. And then he had him eyes closed, draw it. And then he had him without lifting the pen, draw this whole thing again without looking at the image, just from memory. And he said, and then she showed me that one, and that one was amazing. It had so much energy in it. Like you can see how she was trying to shade without picking the pencil up, and she was drawing from memory. And so it wasn't perfect at all. And he was like, that's what art is.
Wow.
You're drawing from your mind, your interpretation, the human response full of error to telling a story of something that exists. And so I was like, yes, that's it. That's what this. And so I went and worked on some music that I felt like was like, you know what? I don't care what genre I'm in. I'm just going to write what feels good. I'm going to try and tell a story. And if I'm not telling a story, then I'm not writing a song. So I started writing music like that. And, Joey will write some music and that'll inspire me to we kind of we consider it iron sharpens iron, He writes a song, I write a song. He writes a song, I write a song, But he's incredible. He's much faster than I am. Like he writes a song and then has it, and then a day later has another one,
But he's more aerodynamic. He's more he's streamlined in the wind, He's got that clean cut.
Yeah.
But no,
the differences are between us are great. It's the dichotomy, of his personality type and mine personality type that I think make really great records.
No, and they do, and will continue to do so. Blake Allison, I can't say thank you enough, my friend, for the time. I know it's I think sometimes things just work out with scheduling. There's just a lot. Life has so many different elements that I don't want to say get in the way, but like present themselves, and then you kind of got to. I think you mentioned the word pivot a couple of times in there. We've been kind of trying to set this up, and then the first time I messaged you, I think you were on the Skillet tour, but to have this time, and I think this energy and this conversation panned out the way that it was supposed to, and I thank you not just for the time, but for the inspiration and for the music. I think that's knowing the energy and the thought and the creativity and the inspiration that goes into the process and the overcoming that you had to go through as an artist. It's something that anybody who listens to this podcast, if they're in the rock community, if you just listen because you want to be inspired, there's so much to draw out of it and to put into, I think, application in any life. But I'm so glad that we got to catch up and to hang out and to
Likewise.
Finally, after 7 years of knowing one another, have time to have a real conversation. So it's been inspiring, and
I appreciate the opportunity to do it. Really, I don't get to do this very often, and I just am thankful that your listeners are listening, and I'm glad that you are you would consider me for something like this, and thanks for hearing me out.
Absolutely. Great stories, great times. Best of luck for the rest of 2019. I know you got some things coming up, and I know you're going to go out and do what Devour the Day does and do what Blake Allison does, and that's just, continue to be awesome. And I thank you for the...
Continue to suck.
You suck in such a good way, though.
Oh, God, you suck. Yeah.
You suck awesomely. Yeah. Take it in context, people. Take it in context.
Yep.
Thank you so much, brother. We'll put the links up for the Devour the Day socials and website and stuff up on the show notes here, so you can click on those and stay up to date with what they got going on, dates and music and all that good stuff. But thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
Hey, thank you.
Boom.
Yeah.
Blake Allison, Devour the Day. Thank you so much for being a part of the Welcome to Cooperville podcast. Thank you so much for listening and being a dedicated podcast listener. By the way, if you are not subscribed yet, make sure that you do that. Whichever platform that you're on, whether you're listening on your iPhone, on the Apple Podcast app, or you're on your Android device, Google Podcast, Stitcher, and Spotify. We're on the iHeartMedia app. We are on radio.com's app. We are everywhere with the Welcome to Cooperville podcast. Hit that subscribe button, and every time a new episode drops, and we've been just banging them out lately, you're going to get an update to let you know to listen. Also, to get other updates, follow us on all the social medias. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and the Instagram. So searching Welcome to Cooperville, you'll find us. Give us a follow, give us a like, and join the journey. And learn all about the 95% rule, which we are killing over here. Big special shout out to my friend Nick and Holistic Remedies for all your CBD and beard oil needs. Make sure you head up to holisticremedies.net. Enter the promo code Cooper10 and get 10% off all of your orders. Again, that is at holisticremedies.net. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Welcome to Cooperville podcast on the web at welcometocooperville.com.